2012-13, we started seeing patterns, and that these were all very connected. And, we saw how we were the first to speak about the deep in the dark web at the Munich Security Conference. So we take our thought leadership outside India also to sort of validate what we do. And while doing this, we found so many things, and one of the last things that we realized was the impact of advanced and emerging technologies on the way countries will even survive. So in 2017, we worked on an epochal technology of 5G, which we felt was something that is going to better the way or improve the way we live. We said that could be the next form of colonization if we don't have our own 5G. So we worked for about 2.5 years with the National Security Council in Delhi, building the entire roadmap for how India can build its own 5G. So we have done a few things, we don't want to go there. But I just wanted to make a few points that so the simple thing that the future of warfare lies in zeros and ones. We must align our defensive with offensive deterrence capabilities, which is going to be a delicate balance. The technology that we all speak about needn't be all about conflict. There's one part is the conflict that we are seeing. It can also serve as a bridge for cooperation, whether in cyberspace, quantum, hacks, satellites, etc. And finally, the collective endeavor that we all try to do lies in aligning innovation with humanity's best interest. So it's not just looking at how to fight the next war, it's about aligning this interest. And the digital compass that we want to point to is a more safer, more interconnected world where bytes and diplomacy can coexist. This is the larger mission of Synergia. It's not a warmongering effort. But we feel that if people don't as you said, that technology is moving at such a rapid pace, 8, 6, 7 months when technology is gone. So countries, large companies can't develop. And because war has changed so fast that you can no more depend on the older industrial warfare companies like Lockheed. They won't have they'll definitely be able to supply you firepower, but the thought process of the war is going to be outside the military complex probably in the next 5 or 10 years. So even when we ask, we have been partners with the Ministry of Defense for the last 9 years, and every time that we have done a seminar either at DEF Expo or Aero India, the topic is one thing: what's the future of conflict? If you don't know the future of conflict, what are you buying? We used to ask the MOD secretaries, what are you buying this for? We'll ask the companies, why are you supplying these weapons here for? Because if you're going to supply a weapon, and do you know what's the use case? So we boil down to this use case thing that General Reddy was saying, and this is where we thought such an ideation, such a thought leadership was useful. And I just want to thank you for your support and confidence in what we are doing, and we hope we will be able to provide more. Just as a proof, this was the conclave that we did in 2023 in November. The topic of this was very similar: the future of advanced technology. We added global diplomacy and national security. We just added so we all are taught at that time. So this has been something that we've been doing for. It's an evolving process. So thank you very much, and more for your questions.
I think General, you spoke about a similar initiative in other cities like Chennai. What is the larger vision behind these conclaves? Is it going to be a long-term association with think tanks? Are you looking for? Can you explain the roadmap beyond this conclave?
When you talk about national security, it is not a singular effort of the military. So even defense and national security is the whole of the nation approach. Now, it's not only in building technologies or impact of technologies that you require our civilian counterparts, but in thought leadership also. You need the support of, as I said, IITs and others for critical technology. So these seminars, which were generally held in isolation, that as Army we were doing our part of military strategy and trying to make our own plans, and the civilian people were thinking of making their own strategies, there has to be a common ground. So that was the larger idea, that even in thought sharing, knowledge sharing, how wars are being fought. Mr. Toby spoke, in fact, the main point of his was how the war is going to be fought in future. I mean, again, off the record, I'm trying to do a PhD in that. But, we have to define how wars are going to be fought in future, then only by weapons. So that clarity is not coming not because of lack of knowledge or experience, because things are changing so fast. Who would have imagined, again, please, some of the things I'm saying very openly, but I will request you to, we will ensure. Who would have thought that 7th October there will be a thing like that? Who would have thought of so many other things which have happened? So, there's so much of things which are changing all because of technological innovations. We are not talked of the info warfare and the social media, that is a nuclear bomb in itself. How it is attacking your cognitive domain. So this cognitive domain, we have to synergize so that we work in the right direction for positive interaction and results. So that's the larger vision, and then of course fallouts are there. This is work in progress, even the countries like US who have been working on this, they are battling with what we are also battling. They are not able to handle. You have seen that again, and I'll say things openly. What's happened to them in so many places? Their assessment of Ukraine was totally wrong. In fact, our DG Ahmedpur, I said they can never win this war. They have gone wrong in many places despite all the things they have. So, you see, it's a related question, but specific outcomes, I can do 3 very major outcomes. You see, we have processes of procurements which are driven for Army headquarters, capital procurements. We have IDEX, we heard of all that. But technology, when you have to develop, they can't form part of any other procurement process. I hope you get it. Because, it is a product. But we are talking of software and thought things which are going to happen. There is no procurement process. It has to be driven by such things and ideas, and in fact, I think the policymakers also realizing that they need to fund and synergize this effort, in which if there is some brilliant person, I can give you a specific example. I'm entering IT startups. Now I can explain that technology in a way. In fact, we are having speakers. The fiber optic cable, there's a technology called fiber Bragg grating. You can Google it, FBG, fiber Bragg grating. That technology basically is, because of heat, the wavelength changes, and because of acoustics, the wavelength changes, and it is very, very sensitive. Now using this, that is a technology. But the use case, I gave a use case that if you put that fiber optic, can it detect a drone if you put it around let's say a company base or some establishment like this? So he said yes. So in the lab he has proven it. Now that has to be, it can't be part of IDEX. So the thing is, one is if the fallout of such things is if we can have an institutional system of supporting such critical technologies, and there are a number of them, and how we can guide them for use case scenarios of all these people. So that is one major thing which will actually be a game changer. Secondly, most is because everything has to be driven by the thought and the concepts. As I said, the concepts which they are having and the concepts which we also have. And concepts are not a preserve of the senior officer. It can be of any rank. So if somebody is giving some good concepts of format of this thing, so if those concepts are driven into something which will help you, like Mr. Robbie just spoke of HAPS. Now what did Elon Musk do in Ukraine? He established a constellation and he gave communications to the Ukrainian forces where Russians were. Now of course Russians have got their act together. But such like thought, if we have a similar thing in our high altitude areas, there is a number of startups which can send rockets in IT Madras. Agnikul Cosmos, if you have heard of it. It is a 3D printed rocket system they are launching. So I gave them an idea, why don't you make a constellation? So the end result of all this is getting the right people together and with a sincere effort and intention, so that I'm not a policy maker, but if our imports reduce, who benefits? The Indian industry. So Indian industry benefits, it is contributing to the growth. And if we are good, we'll start exporting. So, it is that portion also, economics, which, in war, definitely you need to be self-reliant. It is not that you don't have friends, but the point is when the friend is himself in war, what can he give you? So you have to be self-reliant for war sustenance also. I'm not talking of technology, I'm talking of basic spares and basic ammunition. Like in Ukraine, they are looking for some basic spares which are finished. And both sides are looking for spares and ammunition of artillery. So the vision is, some are small ideas, and something larger is that when we go through the sessions, there'll be, if it can be institutionalized, and we can give a feedback report, and they have their channels of access to policymakers. We also have some access. And it is the more and more understanding of everybody to get into this, again I say, whole of nation approach. But we took 13 days for creation of a nation, 71. So it's high time we recognize our abilities. And I'm telling us, I talk with this, we have all the talent here in India. In fact, our most talent is up abroad, which is also driving things in technology everywhere. It is Indian talent which is driving. So,
initiative to promote Indianization and self-reliance.
you see, there are huge
In
steps.
terms of manufacturing, all such efforts.
I can give you something very specific also, which may be slightly on this thing, but I can assure you that there is a huge push on indigenization. But we have started slightly late, as I said, but the speed at which we are moving is much faster than others. So I can, since I am from tanks, T90, which was around some percentage of indigenization, within 6 months is gone up, is almost close to 90% or 95%. The other tank T70 is almost 100% indigenized. Likewise for artillery guns, which, because what we did was we had manufacturing TOT, and some of the critical components we didn't indigenize. So now those are getting indigenized in our current equipment, which we are holding. So as far as ammunition is also concerned, tank ammunition, RT ammunition, so that indigenization efforts are very strong. But what we are looking for future warfare is critical technology, which is a preserve of future, like quantum. A quantum technology will be a game changer. We are working, I am aware of few of the people who are working. ISC, IT Madras also, there are some private startups. So that lead is there with the Western countries. And there are some other critical technologies like hardware chip designing. That is again a preserve. I'm not talking of fab manufacturing. Hardware chip designing is again a preserve of few or in fact it's preserve of one or two, I think. So we have to get into that domain, and in this critical technology also, which is related to defense, these interactions are helping, like this critical technology of detectors. We are collaborating with IIT. So this collaboration, efforts, which is possibly driving. Now this understanding is there of people who are in the position, plus some people who are, who have had the experience and have retired, like some of our senior officers who have retired, one or two, like General Raj Shukla, they have this experience. So some of the, I also take upon myself that I have experience, so I can talk and push. Though as DOC Dakshin Bharat area, my charter is different. That's purely a military charter. But this is something which one is doing it. And then all the officers who are there and all the units, it is high time the whole of the military understands technology. So it is, these events are also a knowledge for everybody who is understanding, because gone are the days when you are on the borders and you will be given a weapon system. Things are changing. Warfare is changing.
Same time. What are your thoughts about how you do the procurement processes?
You see, this is a question which the CDS should be answering. CDS, because he's handling that.
Right.
But I am going to answer it only for your explanation. You need not. You see, organizational structures have to change so that your organization become efficient. But that is happening, will happen. But more importantly, what we are doing, if you get a technological system collaborate, it is something called, I don't know whether if you heard this term into the military, which is again multi-domain operations. Now, if you have multi-domain operation, it can only be actioned upon by technology. Because let's say if I'm from Air Force, somebody is from Navy, and somebody is from Army, if all our resources have to be synergized, if we are talking on the phone, we can synergize one action. But in warfare, there is a multiple action, it has to be a technological network and common operational picture and direction and control and air defense control and everything. So if that happens, then this theaterization will be automatically followed. So both are working in their own things. And I think CDS, as far as what is coming in the papers is, they are having a whatever this thing within the senior hierarchy, and they're not saying what the specifics of how things will happen or not happen. But the things are working in the right direction as far organizational restructuring is concerned. But what we have to do as junior officers, that we have to get a functional, because if the government has made a policy, who will execute that policy? You see, problem is in execution at every level, even in a corporate. So people of junior ranks have to get into this business of collaboration and execution. So execution, somebody has to take the lead. So that is the initiative in which we are trying to get things done. Because we'll all only collaborate with the Indian partner, but you're talking of in technology?
Yes. Warfare technology.
No, you see the private industry can collaborate, and there are some intergovernmental actions which you are aware of, major equipment which is also there. So they are doing it. But our effort is to our MSME and startups. And future warfighting, he correctly pointed out, it can't be done by L&T and Mahindra. It is MSME startups. Because they are the ones who will focus on the technology, and they will give you a small subsystem which will be part of a bigger use case.
Rogue groups, these are so-called resistance movements. They are nowhere in comparison with what Israelis have. So how do you...
You see, kind of you're saying conventional deterrence, if your leading Israel was very strong, and how did they do it?
Yeah. How did they not foresee
You
that
see,
this may come?
That's why I just made a statement. Conventional means people in military, that they have to be there along with technology. You see, they were seeing things. If your sensor is picking up, they picked up, they're practicing that thing which they did. You see, the sensor is a non-living thing. The sensor inputs all came to them, but it is their mind which told them that these people are incapable of doing a thing like this.
Yeah.
So, they had all the feed. They saw them practicing. They said, what can they do? They had it, and sometimes because of their political situation also, I think some things must have gone wrong. And there are always groups within groups and, wheels, which would have created, some other kind of an environment. So I'm not going to the politics of the thing, but purely a military answer, that the sensor will pick up. Now, if you don't have the intelligence and the background to interpret it correctly, then that human person who was there he failed. In fact, there one of the intelligence, he said, I failed in my duty. I think if you, so they should have picked it up, they're doing and they should be ready. And the other thing which it proves, that if you understand technology, you may not have technology, you can always beat it. You must have heard of these TB2 drones which are making big news of Turkey. So in a Syria conflict, the rebels had a normal gun, they had a sentry looking through bino and they brought down all TB2s. They didn't need expensive counter drone systems and radars and jammers and spoofers. So you see, ultimately in warfare, whether you have technology, don't have technology, a force which is more trained, more professional, better led will win in any conflict.
Also, in future, do you have greater threats from these, rogue groups, if I can name them, like the Houthis? They may not be you can put them on Iran, but Iran directly is not fighting with Israel. It's through and it has created such a turbulence. It has created such a turbulence. I mean, do you foresee that they may not be a nation to nation, but these groups that have or the private armies also is a big question.
May I just intervene at this stage? This is a session 2 tomorrow. Rather, Nitin Gokhale.
Russia-Ukraine war, we have Israel and Gaza with the Middle East jumping into it. So how do you foresee, because with China this side, this is always this issue of borders. So
You see, I'll give you real facts, and this thing need not be quoted. Conventional wars are not possible. They're not outside the procurement. What I'm doing is, just to be specific and clarify to others also, we are not doing anything outside the procurement. What one is trying to do is, the procurement process doesn't inculcate future technologies. You see, procurement is a process, but if you have to inculcate future technologies, you have to go to the person who's a startup. So the procurement process happens in Delhi as a process, but we need as users, as I said, to come to the people who are this thing, interact with them, see what they can define use cases, and then when they have a product, then we can put it as part of the procurement process. Jana Reddy is an expert in that. So, we have been fighting all this. So, for us, this is not new. But, we are talking of our Indian Armed Forces getting that technological advantage which deters, our neighbors. Now, they are in collusive support of each other. So, the two of the, second largest army, and Pakistan also, despite their condition, their army is always strong.
yeah.
So if you're facing that kind of a situation, and now your seas also you're mentioning, you have a threat. You see Indian Navy
yours
battling.
become quite a-
So now we have a 360-degree threat.
Yeah.
It's not one front or two. We have plus other challenges which we have. So our security apparatus has to continuously adapt and evolve. Dakshin Bharat is a golden palm.
So this is